All right, got a 2003 6.0 diesel cluster here on the bench today, and the customer says basically sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to go ahead and try and power it up. So I don't know if you could hear that audible click or not, but that's they have some relays inside the cluster, and that's what that click was. So I can tell it's getting power to the relays at least, and the relays are coming on, but obviously it doesn't do anything else. So I'll get it tore apart here, and hopefully I can figure it out. All right, so I got this 2003 F350 or 250. It's a diesel cluster on the bench, and I don't know about anybody else who repairs these, but I hate doing these. I'm just gonna be quite blunt. So they have, a bunch of MOSFETs, a bunch of resistors, a bunch of diodes on the board, and this is just the back side of the board. So for people who don't understand this or haven't repaired these boards, I mean, this is just flux on here right now. And, it's nice, high quality Amtech flux. But if you look how many different components are just on the back side of this board, I have to flux every single piece, and then I have to solder every single one of these because I don't know, they get so old, right? The solder joints get bad. So this is just the first step. And now I got to do the same thing to the front side of this board after I get this all reflowed on the back side. And just the flux process, I was curious, because time is money, obviously, and I always feel like these take me forever to do compared to other clusters. It took me over 10 minutes just to flux it, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here, but I'm also curious how long it's going to take me to solder these, just this one side. And that'll give me a decent, estimate of how long it takes me. In my head, I swear these take me 2 hours, but maybe they're not that bad. But like I said, it's been 10 minutes just to flux these, and as you can tell, I mean, there's probably 100 components back here. I mean, I've never counted them, but you can tell there's a ton of different components back here. And the front, I think, has more. I can't remember off the top of my head on 2003, but, it's a lot of work to do, and it's tedious work, and I have, obviously a microscope here that I'm using, and anybody who's repairing these Fords, you need a microscope to do these. It's just, they're very, very tiny components. So anyhow, kind of rant off. I'm going to go ahead and start flowing the board. All right, well, just got done soldering all the components on the back, and I can confirm there's over 100 components. I counted 130, and then I just stopped counting. And there was a few more I had to go back because obviously I didn't want to miss any components that I was soldering, so I kind of couldn't count past that. But I know there's at least 130 that you have to solder back here. And now I got to take and clean up all my flux and, for my solder job that I just did here. So it took me roughly about 14 minutes on this back side of the board that's easy to access. I got to pull it off, pull this ribbon cable off, and, rinse and repeat the same side on the front. So I'm just going to assume it takes about the same amount of time. So let's say roughly 30 minutes aside. You're into it for, a good hour just to reflow the board. And you haven't troubleshot anything at that point, right? You've just literally reflowed all the components and you got an hour's time into it. And that doesn't include any of my disassembly time that I took, which isn't very long, but it's like another 5 minutes. And then when you assemble it, another 5-10 minutes. I mean, you're going to have an hour and 20 minutes in doing one of these clusters just to test functionality on it, essentially, after you've reflowed everything and then start troubleshooting it. So anyhow, that's kind of my rant. It doesn't take me, I guess, as long as I thought it did. It just feels like forever because you're using a lot of flux, and obviously there's just a lot of stuff to solder. So anyhow, 120 or sorry, an hour, basically an hour or so to reflow these, maybe a little bit longer, is like I said, the average time to do that. So anyhow. All right, so I decided to flip it over, show you guys the front side of the board, and there's way more than 130 on the front side. I mean, look at all these tiny, and I got the camera like an inch away from these components. Like this, look at, here, let me put my finger next to one of these. I mean, to give you an idea, and there's a bunch of these. And then the great thing that you always find with these Fords is, I'll put my finger there. Some of these already worked on it once before. They got their initials there, but it's been at least worked on twice because they're different initials. So that's always great. So, who knows what you're getting into on these Fords. And yeah, like I said, look at all these. So it's a 2-hour job. If you guys can do it under 2 hours, more power to you. I'm pretty meticulous, and like I said, I flux everything and then solder everything, and I use the microscope to verify all my joints. So, you know, if you don't do all that stuff, you know, I could see you getting done maybe an hour and a half, but it's a 2-hour gig for sure. And then they got some writing here, so this has been replaced. Usually that's what people do, they notate what they've replaced in the past. So yeah, like I said, who knows, we'll figure out what we get into with this Ford. Back to it. Alright, I had to turn on the radio, so you might hear that in the background. It just takes too long. Need something to listen to. But got it all fluxed, and then I got everything resoldered. So, like I said, this is just the base point. I've got, let me look what time it is. Yeah, I got an hour into it. So, been an hour just to reflow the board, basically. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back together and see if it powers up. Hopefully I get lucky. If not, like I said, I'll be doing more troubleshooting. But I'll probably be doing more troubleshooting because there's somebody's logo here. And then there's a different logo here. So 2 different people. And then I also noticed I wiped it off the board when I was cleaning it. But there was a mark here, so somebody replaced this component. And then there was a mark somewhere over on this side of the board. So one of these components over here have been replaced as well. So might be the same failure or might be something totally different. But yep, that's where I'm at right now. Alright, got it put mostly back together, so at least I can power it on and see if there's anything different. Basically I could hear the relays click, but nothing happened before. So let's see what happens now. So we get some type of lights. ABS. And I get a glow plug light. I'm going to turn it back off. I thought I saw some stuff over here on the right hand side flicker. Yep. And then I'll go ahead and turn it back on. Yep, come on for half a second. You can definitely hear those relays clicking. So, I don't know, reflowed the entire board, replaced the relays at this point. Now I got to try reflowing the main, computer circuit in this one and see if the main control unit is faulty or has bad connections, and just keep going from there. And the diesel light just went out, the glow light just went out. So yeah, this one's gonna be fun. Again, this is why I do not like working on Fords.